Here's why formatting is important in applications and why it is often overlooked. Formatting, normally what I mean is using some sort of header so that, when someone reads your application, for example, for a scholarship or for supplementary applications where you're listing extracurriculars or your success, use headers. And this might sound a very simple solution, but it makes a world of a difference. You have to understand that if you're applying for a prestigious school or a competitive scholarship where there are many applicants, the reviewer often only takes a minute or two to review your application. They are not going to read every single word you write, so you want to make it as easy as possible for them to pull out the relevant information so that you are put in the yes pile and not the maybe or no's. And using headers will really help the reviewer do that because, for example, if I want to know what your title was, where you worked, and what duration, and what were your accomplishments, then those questions should be your headers so that you have a bullet on title, a bullet on organization, a bullet on duration, and a bullet on your success. So that when I'm reading it, it's like bam, 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 right there, and I can give you 5 out of 5 easily. When there are 200, 400, 500 applications I have to go over, it makes it very difficult for me to read them in detail one by one. And all the other reviewers that I've ever talked to also have the same perspectives. They don't spend a lot of time on the application. They skim through the information. So whenever there's an application that gives me in bullets and have those headings, I really appreciate it. And oftentimes those students do really, really well because they probably have done their research and figured out that using formatting and headers will help them improve their chances. And oftentimes they do have a lot of good experiences to showcase. And also, last thing is, normally a lot of students default to writing paragraphs for these kind of answers. And I can tell you that a lot of students don't spend enough time in their paragraphs explaining the things that matter most, which is often quantifying their accomplishments and what they did in terms of skill set. They spend a lot of time describing what the organization is. And in reality, a lot of rubrics don't really care what kind of organization you work for. We care about what you did in the role. So they spend a lot of words on things that don't really matter. They spend too little words on things that do matter. And normally when I see, paragraphs of text, this is where we start skimming. So again, you run into that potential barrier where we're not actually reading things in full detail and we don't actually understand the full breadth of your skills and the scope of your work. So using headers is key because it allows us to actually focus on what are the important things, and also, forces you as the applicant to also focus on the important things. So it's a win-win for both sides, and that is why formatting is key when it comes to applications and writing any sort of statement for intent or job applications or supplementary apps. If they have particular questions they're asking you to answer, use those questions as headers because it makes sure that the reviewer sees upfront what questions they have and how you're answering it. And it also ensures that you as the applicant, you are spending enough time on the questions that are being asked and you're not spending the word count on irrelevant information where you might think it's important. But if the question is not being asked, then on the reviewer end, then that information is actually not important for us to know, and we won't even give you any bonus marks for those kind of details. So make sure you answer what we're asking in full detail. Use headers as your format so that it makes it easier for us to read, and it also helps you focus on what kind of information you need to provide to us.